Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or whatever time zone it is with you in the world. It is your Lore Saviour, and today we're talking about solo TTRPG experiences. And I word it like this because within the TTRPG sphere, playing solo TTRPGs usually takes in the form of one of two things. It's either a game that's designed to be played by oneself, or you are doing a regular grouped game and then using some additional rules to provide an experience that you could play by yourself. The most famous example of these is the Mythic GM emulator by Tanner Pigeon, friend of the channel, which is such a weird fucking thing to say, where it has a load of tables and systems so you can roll up using a variety of different dice to have some form of that game experience by yourself. And the reason why I want to talk about it, because I've talked about running solo TTRPGs before, you can see that in a card now, but I often see a lot of people really confused by the premise or the idea. The most recent of which is Matthew Dawkins on his channel in a live Q&A thing briefly touched upon it because somebody asked him a question about it. And he said that he doesn't really see much point in doing so, like going in knowing everything, or something to that effect. And this isn't a jab or dig or anything, because I see a lot of people like this. And I think it just comes from a place of misunderstanding. And I just want to try and put my little take on it, and why I enjoy doing solo TTRPGs so much, and why I think you should try and give it a go as well. So I also want to point out that most of this little rambling, waffling video is going to be focusing on turning the group experience into a solo experience, because I don't do a lot of the journaling stuff, purely because it's not to my taste at the moment. That might well change in the future, but I'm always open to try new things. First of all, I think we should take a step back and answer the question, why would anybody play TTRPGs by themselves? Well, there's first of all the really fucking obvious answer first. If you've got somebody like me who is the forever GM who's very used to running games, who would like to play as a player, make their own character rather than dealing with everything else, but they're just unable to, solo TTRPGs can help facilitate that experience. Like, I have so many World of Darkness games, sourcebooks, Chronicles of Darkness, and a whole host of other things. And I know it's going to be particularly difficult for me to organise a group of people because the individual that I am, both as a person and as Lore by Night, like in the past, I've attempted to run Merkborg for people, and fuck all people interested, despite the fact that Merkborg being like a horror-ish TTRPG, and how the TTRPG sphere just kind of blew up when it came out. It was very difficult to organise a group to run that with, because your Lore Saviour here is focused on the World of Darkness. It's like, ew, why would anybody want to play anything else? Which makes me think a little bit like D&D, but I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. Like, it can provide an opportunity for those who, for one reason or another, can't play with a group, or maybe it could be a commitment thing, like you've only got so many hours in the week and it's just difficult for you to meet up with your friends and play a game somehow, which is, you know, I always think that you can try and find a group somehow, but sometimes you just can't, or maybe you just don't want to. Maybe you just want to enjoy doing this solo little thing that doesn't require too much effort and stress or whatever, and you can just go about doing your own thing, which I think is a very interesting side point to that, really, because despite my first point in this, I don't like being a player in TTRPG sessions all that much. The fun for me is coming from providing all the fun and exciting opportunities for players to create weird and wacky stories, which in my case usually have a horror-focused twist, then waiting for my turn to shine, as it were, as a player. I personally get very agitated and sometimes a little bored waiting for people to have those moments, and I just want to push the story forward. And I have found recently that the characters that I have made for TTRPG sessions run by other people, I tend to be I make a character that's very much a solo individual that sort of pushes the plot forward, that doesn't really interact much with the other group, which isn't to say that I'm trying to be edgy or anything. It's just, I don't know, that's just sort of an archetype that I fall under a lot of the time. Like, I will interact with the group, I'll roleplay with other people, but perhaps this is a part of my monkey autism brain where we have an objective to do, and I will just pursue straight ahead and do that task. And everyone else will do their bits of role-playing with NPCs and whatnot, and I will do what I think is necessary to push the plot forward, or I'll just sort of go off and do my own thing. That's thinking what my character would do. Which again, this isn't me trying to be edgy or lone wolf or not creating a character that would interact with the group. It's just what I would do, really, I guess. I don't know, it's a bit weird that, so maybe that might be why I get a bit impatient with things, but I just enjoy different elements of a TTRPG. Like, I don't get so emotionally attached to characters that a lot of people do. Like, I don't write a lot of backstory. I don't really give much thought to beyond the character, like a brief overview on how they got up to where they do now. And if I do come up with backstory things, I just let the games master just come up with shit and just bounce ideas off of that. I don't devote a lot of my attention to it. I don't care all that much. Which really just sort of fits into why I think solo TTRPGs could be a good fit for me, because then I could do things my way and just go forward with the plot that I am creating, knowing that whilst not being a true reflection of that particular TTRPG's experience, I can create something that's semblant of that, go at my own pace, and not worry about saying or doing the wrong thing wrong or confusing people, all the rest of it. Which again, is not something that I intend to do with every group thing, but I do find that when I do solo TTRPGs, I am generally at ease more, which is weird because how different that is to me as a games master. I love sitting back and waiting for the players to stop interacting with the world enough when they're ready to move on. I will happily wait for them as a games master so they can interact with the worlds that I have thrown at them and how they're injecting and interacting with all of it. But as me as a player, there is a sense that I know what is coming. I know that you're going to fuck me over one way, as a character that is. And I know that there's going to be certain beats that are going to be happening. Alright, I've put in this NPC in the character's backstory. I know you're going to fuck them over. I know that we may turn out alright in the end, sort of thing. But yet, as a games master, I love doing that with all my players. It's a bit weird, that. Which sort of brings me on to my style of game mastering, and how that feeds very well into the ethos of solo TTRPGs, which is that it's very, very chaotic. Solo tabletop role-playing games, whether they be a journaling one, or you're using some sort of system that makes the group experience compatible with a solo player, it forces you to take on the role of games master and player. Like, I don't feel that needs to be said, but it is worth pointing out because it suddenly puts a lot of the work on, well, all the work, basically, on you to not only just come up with the character and deal with combat and plot hooks, but it's to generate all the other things like, what does the environment look like? What does this person look like? How do they react? What's going on? What's the likelihood of such an event happening? These are all things that really need to be taken into consideration, which is where all these different tables and whatnot come in, like these solo rules that I've done for Vampire, Werewolf 5th edition and Vampire 5th edition, just to clarify there, and the Wraith the Oblivion 20th anniversary edition solo rules, although that and the other ones I've mentioned can be used with any of those editions of their respective game lines. You can also find those in the Storyteller's Vault and watch the ongoing second season of the Playing with Dice Self podcast, where it adds systems and tools that can allow you to play those games whilst keeping in consideration those unique mechanics like the Oblivion die for the Wraith system that I've created. And it can be rather daunting thinking that you have to do all this work, and rolling all these tables takes some of that responsibility away from you, because you're now leaving certain elements of the plot to the chance of the dice gods, as it were. It's all luck-based, but it's chaotic. And this is where I feel a lot of plot ideas that you can generate really go out the window, because you're leaving things to chance with dice prompts. And by doing so, you're combining words together or sentences or whatever to progress the story forward. So you in your head may think that the story's going to go one way, but then you roll the dice and then it goes the completely other direction, and then more. Which is why I think that it's very difficult to honestly say that you go into these solo games knowing what's going to happen. you can have a pretty good formulated idea, and you may create a character to go through a certain type of story, like season 1 of the Playing with Thyself podcast. We created a member of, I've forgotten the cult's name, it was a Nosferatu, the Cleopatra cult, that's it, that was very much focused around the development and expanding of that cult, and it sort of made me realise it was going to be very much a social game. There wasn't going to be that much combat involved, so yeah, I can gear things towards that general direction, but weird things are going to happen that may force you out of your comfort zone, just like a traditional tabletop experience. So there is going to be elements of combat in there, or vice versa. If you want to make a very action-focused chronicle, you may find that there's going to be bits of political espionage to progress the plot forward every so often, rather than just doing fight after fight after fight. So it can be quite an unpredictable experience, and I really think that people should embrace that, just so it can closer emulate the traditional group experience. And that isn't to say that if things are totally predictable all the way through, that's not a legitimately fun way to play, because as you're the only player, as long as you are having fun, that's all that really matters, really. So it just allows you to tailor and cater the experience that you want to play. And you could argue that the predictability is more found within like the traditional journaling experiences of solo TTRPGs. And again, I disagree with that as well, because you're going to imagine the setting and the responses in a particular way. You're going to twist and bend options and writing things down in ways that's going to fit how you want to play and experience that game. How you connect certain points together are going to bounce off each other with the little bits of your brain that are having a blast with this. So I don't think that playing solo TTRPGs, you going in there knowing what's going to happen. I mean, you know a bit about your character. You, as the games master, will know element of the world, and you're going to have that bit of disconnect with your character as they learn bits about it and how they're going to respond about it, which again is not that dissimilar from tabletop role-playing games. Like, if we stick with Vampire the Masquerade, your characters may meet this ugly motherfucker in a sewer. You, the players, will know that's a Nosferatu, but your characters might not necessarily know. So you will know their powers as the player, but the character may not, because the storyteller will have different ideas. Like, okay, this Nosferatu is a master of necromancy, let's just say. Why? Well, that's for you to find out and work out. And again, you can do this in solo stuff, and part of the fun is discovering and rolling on these tables and using your imagination to come up with something really weird and wacky. And solo tabletop games are becoming more prominent and relevant, I feel, within the sphere. Like, every fucking independent Kickstarter thing now has the solo rules as either part of the core experience or as a pledge add-on, as it were. And people are creating these tools so they can play the games that they enjoy, because it's a valid way of playing it. And just going back a little bit, the fact that the way to play these games solo is part of the core experience is, I think, pretty huge. And I think we should get rid of the weirdness that is playing TTRPGs by yourself is a weird thing, because you read these books by yourself, you interpret the rules by themselves, you read books by yourself, you play games by yourself, and TTRPGs isn't really all that different, really, when you think about it. And when you realise that you can play some of these games by yourself, like you have a game that not many people like or won't want to play as a group, but you really want to play or run it, congratulations, you've now got the tools needed to play that game and have some semblance of fun. It's honestly part of the reason why I made the solo rules for Wraith the Oblivion, because despite it being a World of Darkness game that people really love and love talking about and reading, not many people will play it, which I think is really fucking sad. And there's a lot of people I know would really want to play or run that, but they can't get a group together. Well, congratulations. I'm now putting some solo rules so you can fucking play that game by yourself. You've also got a bunch of one-shots in there as well to play it with a group. And it's going to be free, which is fantastic, I think. You know, like, and plugging aside, there's also the fact that doing these games solo makes you a better games master, because you've now got to interpret these weird fucking wacky results and make sense of it, which is part of the fun of being a games master, I think, rather than railroading your players through an experience that you have handcrafted over the process of weeks. Like, you can be free, you can experiment with things. It's going to push you in directions that you wouldn't have previously thought about, and I think those little pockets of inspiration through these dice rolls is fucking fantastic, really. Like the Ironsworn games by Sean Tompkins, Ironsworn, Starforged and the Sundered Isles, are fantastic examples where every single fucking roll that you do not only progresses the plot forward, which is probably the reason why I like them so much, but it gets you to stop and think and make sense of everything, and to create something logical out of the chaos, because it keeps you on your toes, it keeps you being inspired, and you have to improvise pretty much all the way through, which, you know, is, again, this fits very much into how I run games and how a lot of games master approaches their sessions, and it makes you more confident as a games master and as a player, which is certainly no bad thing. I mean, the second that you introduce a tool that's meant to create an element of risk and chance, i.e. dice, or cards, or some other form of paraphernalia, you can't control everything. You can control things a lot or a little, but you won't have full control over it if you're playing the game as intended, i.e. with its tool, dice, etc. and so forth. And it's possible to do things with a lot of control too, if that's what you want to do. As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. And I know this can also be expanded with miniature games, which I first thought was a bit chaotic, because when I think of things that use miniatures, I either think of D&D, where people put the little beasts on a map, or you have things like Warhammer, where I don't think using miniatures is the right word, but I don't know, like the whole war gaming thing. But there's a game that Nodifius put out called, I believe it's called 5 Parsecs from Home. The book's going to be up there for you to have a little oogle at, which is a sci-fi miniatures game which you play by yourself. So you could, I suppose, use elements of that to bend to your games of Warhammer if you like collecting them and want to play but just can't find a place or time to play them with other people. And I would be very surprised if there wasn't some form of system out there that allowed you to do that. Also, you have the Warhammer TTRPGs, which again, you can use a whole list of tables and things to create some semblance of the experience for yourself, I guess. And I say that because, again, I've got very little experience of the whole Warhammer scene, but there's a means for the way, or way for the means, I don't remember the expression, but if you want to try these things solo, you absolutely can, and it is a valid way of playing. And I'm also going to point out that just enjoying reading the books is a valid way of enjoying the medium as well. Like, if we put it to video games, watching videos, people talking about the video, or watching others playing said games, or reviewing them, or whatever, is a valid way of enjoying that media, because it's still that social element to it. And doing things solo, you're engaging with creative parts of your mind that you probably wouldn't get a chance to do otherwise, which, again, should be encouraged tenfold. But what if you're a group of players that want to play something, but none of you wants to step up and be a games master, because that requires a lot of work and effort? Well, you can use said solo tools as the games master, and then you create the story together. I mean, as a group you tend to make the stories together anyway, but you can all take in turns rolling on these probability tables and descriptor tables and whatnot, and just pass the buck, as it were, you know, all become the games master with the aid of this book. It's actually something that I've done a fair amount with my partner. We've done Merkborg together, we've done Ironsworn together. We're going to be using my Wraith homebrew rules, another plug I know, to run the game together as an actual play, which I don't think has ever been done before, at least for Wraith the Oblivion. I know there was a couple that did that with Ironsworn, which I think was really cool and cute, but you know, it's just to showcase that you can use these tools in a variety of different ways. And most recently we did this with Chainsaw, which is a horror slasher focused hack for Merkborg, which is going to be in a card somewhere right now. Not as an actual play, but like a review of it, but I talk a bit more about it there. I've had the tendency to take over a little bit, not maliciously, it's just anybody who's played in a game with me just knows I'm very good with improvisation, and I just sort of spitball and roll with the first idea that comes to mind. And what we've done recently, my partner and I, with Chainsaw, is that when our characters have done something, the other person reveals what happened. So there was a moment in that where we were exploring this seemingly abandoned barn, and my character went to go and look for one thing, their character went to look for something else, and we narrated the other character's response. So there's that bit of collaboration there. It's also pretty good putting a limit on my mouth so I don't direct everything. You know, there are different ways that you can do it, and you can customize and work with as much or as little of the rules as you want, which is again not too dissimilar to what you do with other tabletop role-playing games when someone is serving as the game's master. So to wrap this things up as neat as a bow as I can muster, I enjoy running games solo or without the need of a games master, because it encourages creativity and it forces you to really lean in about what makes tabletop role-playing games special. That no matter whether it's a small or big world, this world is completely unlimited to your imagination, and it can't be dictated by anyone unless you want it to be. Like, you can set your own pace. It makes you a better player, makes you a better creative person, makes you a better games master, and it builds up confidence to be a TTRPG player and a games master. These tools can be used to create sessions in more traditional play. It allows you to be creative with other people more, and they're designed to facilitate this and heavily lean into it, to embrace the chaos that is this randomly determined medium, or that is tabletop role-playing games. And you really can't get that with anyone else. There's no such thing as predictability with this. It's all random, it's all generated. Even if you were to do a module, adventure, campaign or whatever, solo, you're still going to get those elements of surprise in there. Because that's just the fucking nature of tabletop role-playing games. And these solo rules facilitate that more, I think, than a traditional group. Because you've got one person that just oversees everything, like a referee in a football match, or a conductor for a symphony orchestra. Not needed, but somebody does need to, like, layeth down, the smacketh down on the rules, as it were. But with solo play, you get to choose everything. And again, in a traditional sense, the games master will bend and break things to their whim, and you can too, as a solo player, which, again, just makes you a better player and games master overall, I think. So, my dear viewers, let me know in the comments below your experiences with solo role-playing games of any system. I'd also like to know if there were any, like, solo systems for, like, your war gaming, Warhammer stuff. Not so I can give it a go myself, because I already spent a lot of money on one expensive nerdy hobby, but just, you know, just curious to see what's available out there. It might help somebody else to find something, you never know. If you haven't played solo games before, I think you should give it a go. And you should do that this weekend or sometime this week. Personally, like, let me know all your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Also, because I do solo actual play stuff, I do enjoy that a lot. So let me know if there's any system that you know that I like or might like that would be good for that. Like, you may be aware that I have been tinkering with some solo rules for Fallout, which, before anybody points out, I know that Modifius are creating one in the style of their Star Trek one, but that to me feels like a different gaming experience rather than an attachment to the game line in question. That, and it's coming out next year, and I'm really fucking impatient, so I want to try out these little rules and see what happens. So I want to do a Fallout one. I have some ideas for a Call of Cthulhu based one. But yeah, if there's any others that you think I would like, and you want to see me record and put out there, because it has to be quite a lot of support because they take fucking ages to do, do let me know in the comments below. And if you want to try some Vampire the Masquerade, Wraith or Werewolf solo stuff, primarily the first and the latter one, I'm going to leave some books for you in the description below for you to go and purchase to include in your solo games and or regular group stuff. Purchase them with those links, I will get some of the money back because I'm an affiliate of Drive-Thru-RPG, and any sort of financial support will go towards helping creating awesome shit for this channel. Now, if you see a book down there that you have or don't like but want to support me some other way, or there's some other game on Drive-Thru-RPG you want to buy, you can just copy and paste the affiliate URL in the URL of the book in question before you add it to your cart, and I'll get some of the money back that way. So you get books, I get books, and you get free awesome content, which is really a fucking great relationship, really, but as minimal as detached as it is. But yeah, if you like this video and other solo gaming stuff that I do give the video a like, subscribe to the Lore by Night channel, and share this video with anyone and everyone who would love what I do, and I'll see you on the next upload, whatever that may well be for you. And until next time, farewell.